Welcome to the Strenuous Life Radio, a podcast for leaderpreneurs, entrepreneurs, men and women learning the essentials and soft skills of the strenuous life. And now, here is your co-host, Jimmy. At the last minute, JR and I decided to have a little conversation. When I asked him some questions, this topic just came to us last night. Whatever happened to self-reliance? And I think this is a big one. It's a big one. And JR is a lot more conservative than I am in some ways. He's going to say what he's got to say. And sometimes it may, tick somebody off. But you know what? I made it his show for that very reason. Now, JR, what do you think caused self-reliance to go downhill? Could it be that, we let government take away some of our freedoms? What do you think it could be? For one thing, I think it was been, for nearly a century, we have developed what's known as the entitlement mentality. People thought that they could fix the Great Depression with that, but no. Franklin D. Roosevelt. People believed that Roosevelt was going to save this country. And some people erroneously believe that when he took over in 1933, at least I did, Jimmy did, that he was going to save the country, and that the Depression ended. The Great Depression did not end until 1939, just as World War II began. Okay? Now, here's something to be in consideration. Because, you have financial advisors like Robert Kiyosaki who state that, the problem with this country is that we have an entitlement mentality. And that's, from anywhere to, from being on government benefits, to people thinking, they can just lean on a paycheck. People acting so scared. Oh, I'm so scared I'm going to lose my job. Or I'm so scared I'm going to lose my government benefits. Whatever happened to people forming their financial independence? Some people might say, well, we're in the middle of a recession, JR. Why in the world would we want to start now? I say now is is as good a time as any, if not better. We got people who can't even afford to pay their groceries. And someone's going to take, I think it's some ingenuity, a little bit of elbow grease, find a little business system to invest in, and grow your wings on your way up. Now, some people, they want to do what's known as the leapfrog theory, which is, leap and grow your wings on the way down. It don't work that way. Now, some say it's a Tarzan theory, where you hold on to something until something better comes. And to some degree, that's true. I kind of call it my theory is it's more like the the home range theory, okay? You're riding that horse. And that's something better is your home goal where you're going. You hold on to that thing until you can put your horse somewhere safe, and then you let it go and get off that horse and enjoy yourself. Now, of course, Jamie's exposure to horseback riding to some degree was a little bit more limited than mine. But those of you who didn't grow out in the country, I mean, you didn't know what it's like sometimes as a kid to be able to ride horses regularly. But it's not so bad. Now, then here's another question, JR. What do you define as self-reliance? And is it in line with any doctrine or anything? To some degree, I think it has something to do with the church that you and I are in, Jimmy, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But I also think their doctrine is to live within your means. But I also agree with Robert Kiyosaki is that living within your means also means expanding those means. Because for far too long, the baby boomer generation, everybody's been saying, telling the kids, go to school, get a good education, which I'm not opposed to that, and then go and get you a good job. Jimmy and I, we had a different approaches from our granddad, who really gave us the entrepreneurial spirit. Jimmy, his was a mechanic. Mine was just a rancher. But the thing is, self-reliance is something, it needs to be emphasized. Jimmy, if you would go ahead and get the definition of self-reliance. What it means is you're leaning a little bit on your own resources and powers rather than that and others. But there's a caveat there. There's a caveat there that people don't think about. We're not just talking about financial self-reliance, even though that's the biggest part of this podcast. We're also talking about emotional self-reliance. Say you're down. Maybe you don't. You keep calling some of your same old friends, and maybe they can't give you the perspective you need to feel better. That's when you go to the Lord. You should go to the Lord as your first line of defense, anyway. And it's something. How, no thanks to our entitlement mentality, which, if you ask me, and this is monetarily, socially, and emotionally, it's setting people up for failure. Because you look around, you have rising inflation. I also think you've got a bit more unrest, no thanks to this distracted, defiant culture. Men's hearts are failing them. So who you going to turn to emotionally? You turn to the Lord. Who guides you financially? Well, I certainly hope it's the Lord. Those are the things that you need to look at, whether you feel like you want to or not. Because here's the thing. My philosophy is live within your means, but that don't mean live below your means. Gives you a chance to expand them. And there's nothing wrong with expanding them. There's nothing wrong with having nice things, as long as it don't possess you. Chasing money from the wrong mindset. Where did you get your ideas for self-reliance, Gerald, other than your grandfather? Well, that's easy. My daddy. 4 months before graduation from high school, he took me aside. He said, "Now look, I ain't letting you go to college yet. You got 3 years to working for me, but you're gonna be your own man financially. All right, you can't depend on me and Mama. This is what's gonna happen." And so he, at 18, I'd say about 5 months after I turned 18, he shoved me out into the world. Of course, when the legislature was not in session, or say during the fall and winter, he'd have me work for him in the offices and everything, but I paid my own way. I insisted on it. And especially after my grandfather died. There was a little angst about who was going to take over the ranch. So Mama hired a different ranch foreman, and collectively with Grandma, she was in charge of the ranch, and at least until the fall of 91. I was going back and forth between Washington, D.C. Austin, Washington, D.C. and West Texas. And finally he let me go to college. But he told me, he said, "You're your own man." I remember, and this is about maybe 6 weeks before graduation from high school, my father took me inside, and he gave me the talk. Of course, I lived at home for a little over 3 years. And it's funny, around that time, 3 years later, I go in and announce to my family, I say, "Hey, I'm moving. I'm going to be applying to Texas Tech. I'm out there. I'm going to make my difference in the world, make my mark." The thing is, Jimmy, I think it's our generation and younger, to some degree, that are insisting on this entitlement. When you tell them that you want to have financial freedom, a lot of them say, "Well, I got my job," or "I got my check." America used to present people at its founding, its colonization, people who were rough, rugged individuals that stuck together in communities, but they were self-reliant. They were self-reliant. Many people think it goes back to the Dark Ages, but I think I kind of equate that to the Puritans and people like Benjamin Franklin. What people don't know is that in the New England Primer, which was taught for generations in schools in the United States, there was this one phrase in that primer that go under I. And what it is an idle fool is whipped in school. And so the Puritans, founding fathers like Benjamin Franklin, all these felt that idle hands is the devil's workshop. So yeah, you need to find an occupation, preferably something you love to do. As Theodore Roosevelt, he said, I would say that if a man cannot work with his hands, should devote himself to the arts and sciences. See, podcasting is an art. Creating content, that's an art. That's creativity. And use that creativity to build self-reliance. So that you temporarily will be ready. Because these shows on the James Hendrick Empowerment Network, they just ain't for people on the temporal scale. They're for people that's also on, what's known as spiritually as well. I think a couple episodes back we talked about prayer. So I'm thinking, why not? Why not go ahead and talk about something we see that is very important. Let's talk about self-reliance, because it's both spiritual and temporal. Does this... Our last episode was yesterday with the Bulletproof George Washington. And we selected that in mind. Would someone say that George Washington was self-reliant? Most definitely. Otherwise, why would he have such a nice home, such as Mount Vernon? Thomas Jefferson having a place like Monticello. That's something to consider. Our founding fathers were self-reliant. I believe that Benjamin Franklin was the father of American entrepreneurship. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be an entrepreneur. I mean, there's nothing wrong with people who want jobs if they want that kind of security. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that per se. But to look at it like it's some kind of entitlement, like it's something, that's like a badge of honor, it ain't nothing I think to be proud of either. But this show's dedicated to leaders and entrepreneurs. The leaderpreneurs is kind of like, I don't necessarily want to work for the man and just go around following orders all the time. Do you think to some degree the job mentality has created this? You're raised in school. And maybe you had your teachers tell you the same thing as your parents did. You go to school, get your good education, you get a good job. And maybe to some extent, if you're lucky, some school teachers will teach you about money. Not too many. But they'll teach you this outdated information age model with money. Whereas we know that it's combined age. Okay, we're out of time. Hope you enjoy listening to Strenuous Life Radio. If you like what you hear, please subscribe. Become a part of Strenuous Life Radio family. It's Jimi Hendrix saying until next time, think strong, and live the strenuous life. God bless y'all. Y'all take care now, you hear?